Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video, let's theorise. The takeover happens. Right, Ashley's gone. Steve Bruce, see you later. He gets sacked. Let's just say the rumours are true, okay? Pochettino wants to leave PSG. We bring him in. This is our first summer window on the new owners and new manager. Who do we bring in? That is the question. But a couple of weeks ago, guys, I've done the exact same video, but if the takeover doesn't happen, so on the Mike Ashley with his £20 million budget for Steve Bruce, the stingy bastard, £20 million. What's a manager want to do with that? But yeah, I've done that video a few weeks ago. You want to go check that out. But in terms of today's video, the Saudi owners come in. They just go straight in the press conference and say, listen, we want what's best for this football club. We are willing to spend whatever it takes to get this football club in silverware. We want to wake this sleeping giant. We want to come in and bring the football back to the fans. I mean, here Bladen Racers playing. What happens? The curtains open up. Kylian Mbappe walks out in his Newcastle top. I mean, yeah, I'm going a bit ahead of myself there, but this is, the dream. But like I said, though, guys, in today's video, we're going to theorise who's actually going to come in the first window. But before that, guys, if you're new to the channel, get down and subscribe, smash that, enjoy. Obviously, put down your predictions who we should sign, but we need to be realistic straight away, okay? The takeover happens, right? We can't just spend £1 billion straight away. That's not how football works. You can only spend what you earn. And in my opinion, Newcastle earn about £150 million, because we earn over £100 million in TV rights. Of course, we finished 12th in the league. Yes, there's no income coming in from the fans this season, but despite that, in terms of football, Newcastle is still one of the highest earners in world football. It's about top 20, I believe, and despite how shit we've been in the last 15 years, we still generate an absolute fuck ton for how bad we are as a club. So, yeah, people are surprised that we do earn a loss. But listen, we've got a transfer budget, like I've said, of £150 million. That's without selling players or whatever. But let's just say I'm not going to include selling players because it's going to get too complicated. We've got £150 million on the board. We're going to spend that right now. But the first sign I would make, regardless of whether takeover happens, I would bring Joshua Williams, no matter what. I know some people are going to say he's injury prone, but listen, we're in Newcastle now. We have the most injury prone squad like ever. So, and I remember Joshua Williams last season. He's generally one of the best left backs I've ever seen play for this club. He really is a good player. And people are going to say, oh, he's not match free. He hasn't played much for Frankfurt. Well, yeah, well, it's alright. We've got 3 months over the summer. He can go on the treadmill for a bit, get himself trained back up, and then eventually he can get himself back in the squad. He's a very good left back, and I don't know how people are objecting to it. I think he's an easy sign, no matter what happens to this football club. But yeah, that's the first sign I would make. I think Newcastle, in terms of this window, I think we need full-backs, centre midfielders, and backward strikers the most, if I was to pick. But if I was asked a Newcastle fan right now what sign would make if a takeover was to happen, I think a lot of people straight away would say Philippe Coutinho. I don't think he's a realistic sign, and I'll tell you why. He's a very demanding player. We would only go to a club to win Champions League football. That's just how he is. He left Liverpool because he wanted to win Champions League at Barcelona. Yes, it didn't happen for him, but he went to Bayern Munich on loan and he did win a Champions League. So to be fair to him, he did get what he wanted, but he's a very demanding player. Coutinho is also a very expensive player. Barcelona bought him for about £150 million. I can't see him selling for any less than about, like £90 million or something. I can't see him selling any more less than that because, listen, they don't want to lose an absolute shit ton on them. But unfortunately for them, they are going to lose money regardless because he's not a £150 million player. But I don't think we're saying that's the main part I was getting out of that. But in terms of free agents, most of the free agents have been snapped up. Aguero, Wijnaldum, David Alaba, they're kind of the best ones have been took up. I think Diego Costa is still a very good free agent that's available. I think as a backward striker, I think he's a no-brainer. I don't see him coming to the club now, by the way, under Steve Bruce, but under a new ownership, I can't see him as a backward striker for the first season. I think you need some players with experience in the squad. We can't get anywhere without experience. This is how football works. That's what we kind of need to actually build the squad up, and eventually next season when you start to get youngsters, when you start bringing fresh talent. I think Diego Costa is a no-brainer as a backward striker. I think he'd be very good to fit in there. Bring him on when Callum Wilson gets injured, or just kind of have him there just to have there's some sort of just bulk in the squad. Really, you need players to battle for better positions because otherwise players are just going to slack off. And I think he'd be a nice one to bring as a backward striker. Joe Willock is an actually obvious one. I can't see him signing because of his goodbye message on Instagram for the squad now, but I think under an ownership and under a new manager, I think you'd be very tempted to change his mind. And I think he would be an obvious one again. I think about £30 million, easy signing. Straight away in the Newcastle squad, I think he'd be a great one for the future. I think he is going to be a good player in the future. I think under Arsenal, regardless of whether he leaves the club or not, I think he will definitely become one of the future England players there, that's for sure. I think Pjanic from Barcelona had quite a shit season, but I think he's again a player with good experience, a player I would think we could get for a decent amount. He's a player that's quite old now. He's a player that hasn't got many seasons left in him, and he's a player at Barcelona I'll probably want to shut off for his high wage gap. So I think he's a player we could bring in for about £20 million. I think he's a player that would get in there nicely, get rid of Shelby, see you later Shelby, and I think he'd be a nice player to sort of settle in for a season or two and eventually sell him off. But begin with, you can't just buy whoever you want. You've got to be sort of steady with it. You've got to slowly build your way up, and then eventually you start buying the big boys. But for now, though, you've got to kind of lay the foundations, and I think Pjanic is a good player to do that. I think in terms of Napoli this season, of course, they're missing out on the Champions League is huge. I think we can definitely try and raid their club. Koulibaly, I've said this last season about the Takeover, I think he'd be a very good player to bring in and a very realistic one. Again, if it was to happen, because Europa League football, let's be honest, these players don't want that. And you've got an opportunity to play in Premier League football, because even though Newcastle haven't got any European football, Premier League is still a great interest for these sort of players. And I think Koulibaly would be one that could be tempted if you offer some nice money there. Mertens as well as another player. He's not had the best of seasons again, but another player offers him some money and listen, get yourself over there. Insigne, all these Napoli players missing that. I said raid the club, bring as many as you want, but I think Koulibaly's a must-have, and I think Mertens or Insigne, one of them, maybe. Just depends what we need, really. I think Jack Grealish is again another player we could potentially get. I think Villa had quite a lacklustre season. I know obviously a lot better than the 17th last year, but still, the first half of this season looked really good, and they sort of dropped off quite a bit. So, yeah, I definitely think I had a bit of lacklustre one. And Jack Grealish has a very good European campaign. I think he'd definitely be one of the go-to signs for most of the big clubs in the summer. So, in terms of competition, I think it'd be very hard to get him. But listen, if we can offer the right money, we can offer him the sort of right mindset. Say, listen, Newcastle United, we're aiming for European football next season. I think he's a player who could be on board for it, and I think he's a player I would personally go for. I think he's a very good player, and in fact, Villa managed to keep him this season. I think is very impressive. But we'll see how it goes at the Euros, because he had a very good European campaign. I can't see him staying at Villa, I'll be honest. But yeah, I rate Jack Grealish a lot as a player. I think he's a great player to bring in. And speaking of English players, I think Kieran Trippier, of course, La Liga winner this season. Again, and maybe if you can tempt him, you might come back to Premier League football. But again, though, that's kind of open in the air. And Atletico Madrid, like I said, they're all probably not one of the favourites, but they're definitely a potential Champions League winner next season if things go right for them. But again, though, they seem to bottle every single season, so who knows. But point being, they've got Champions League football next season, and will Trippier want to leave for Newcastle United? Probably not, but again, if the money's on the table, maybe might be tempted. But Dubos from Leon, I think the right back, I think he's had a very good season. Natal as well from, of course, from Nice. He's not had the best of years, but again, these sort of players, I mean, they will come to the Premier League because the Premier League is a great interest for these sort of individuals. And I think, again, bring them sort of over, and there will be a player that could be potentially there. But I think Isco as well, talking about midfielders before, if you can't get Pjanic, I think Isco again, another sort of old player, well not old, but a player that's been around for quite a while, a sort of experienced player could potentially come into the club and get something going. But it seems quite a bit messy in terms of the players I've brought up, so we're going to put a final sort of selection of players in now. Williams, first sign I would make. Joe Willock, second sign I would make. Diego Costa's a backward striker, third sign I would make. I think Pjanic would be a fourth sign I make, so I have two central midfielders this season. Greenish is a fifth. I have him potentially in the midfield or on the wing. Depends, really. Depends where we kind of need players the most. I think there are five signs right there. Koulibaly is a six. They're trying to... and I'm fine to have Dubios as a seventh, I think. I think seven signs is quite fair to have in the first season. Obviously, 0 for Williams, 0 for Costa. 30 for Willock, I think 20 for Pjanic, that's 50 million there. About 50 for Koulibaly. Greenish, I mean, 50 is going to be pushing it quite a bit for him. That's going to be very hard for £50 million. Dubios will be about 50 in my opinion. So, yes, it's not quite exactly what I said, but again, he will be selling some players, potentially getting some wage gaps open, get a couple extra £1 million in there. I think we could potentially squeeze that in. Not being an easy squeeze, but potentially it could be someone I'm up for. But that's my personal predictions. Obviously, the reason why they're not in the thumbnail is because I don't want to spoil them. So I have a couple in the thumbnail, but the legs are messy and back. They're going to be in there just for the lollies, I guess. But anyway, guys, bit of a long video, but we're going to finish it off there. They were the players I would personally go for. Let me know down below which ones you go for. But in terms of this window, though, it's quite a harder window, I think, especially during COVID. The players won't want to relocate as much as they will in past seasons. But again, though, if the owners come in, Pochettino gets his nice little agents on the phone. they put down the sort of mindset for these players. They say, listen, we are willing to do this in Newcastle United next season. I sort of get them on board and we see how things go. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Take care, and yes, I'll see you on the next one.